what I'd like to do now, hopefully, is just kind of go through the clips, and I'll kind of run them, and they're raw. They are not edited. When our kids turn in their plays, we have our kids turn in their plays after the game on Friday night. They turn it in on Sunday night, so they get they look at like 20 plays that they were involved in, if they were not involved in those plays, and they look at those plays in the position in which they would be involved, and they submit them. So sometimes there's some notes on top of these clips that might not make sense, but that's why. All right, so this is a 203 play, so I'll play headed to the right, and this is the first game, so it's certainly not perfect. But I'll, again, if you guys were players and we were in the room watching this clip, we'll just go through the clip as it exists now and the ways in which we would change it. So again, the play headed out to the right. The receiver over here is the number one receiver. He's got the stretch. Okay, so as the quarterback comes out of his break, he's going to sneak a peek at that guy. If that guy's open, he's going to throw it. And we'll talk about different ways in which he might be open. When we scheme this stuff, when we look at the guys on the field, one of the things we're looking at is his hip angle and the cushion that he's given our wide receiver. Okay? We've kind of gone away from talking to our quarterbacks in terms of coverage because I think a lot of times, and this is my opinion, I think that sometimes we struggle to identify the coverage because sometimes the kids on the other side might not know what they're doing. And so we've spent many times where we're looking at the film and we're like, I think it's cover 2, but I'm not sure, because what the hell is that kid doing? And then you try to talk to your quarterback about it, hey, the kid's in cover 2, and he's like, well, what's that kid doing? And then you don't have an answer. You know what I mean? So what we talk to our kids about is bubbles of space. Okay, you can run any defense you want and any coverage out there. There's always going to be a 4 or 5 bubbles of space depending on what you run. Okay, so when we talk to our quarterbacks about it, we talk about bubbles of space. All right, and that's far too much information to get into now. But essentially, what the quarterback is looking at, he's looking for these voided areas on the field. And yes, it sounds very simple. It's a little more complicated than that, but simply, he's just looking for the bubbles of space. So if you were to look out to this guy, of course, we'd have a scheme and plan. We'd say, hey, this kid's a stud. Don't throw it to him. Stretches out, all right, unless the kid falls on his face, okay? But we look at this guy, say he's got a zone hip angle, and he's below the heart, he's below 7 yards, so that bubble of space is covered. Okay, the bubble of space on top is open, and then based on the scheme, we might say, yeah, he's open, give him a look, or forget him, move on to the next guy. Okay, so number 1 has a stretch. Here's the flat. We would consider this guy an attached guy, even though he's a slot receiver. If you take a step forward and put your hand in the dirt, he's the same guy. All right, so he's going to have to delay his release out to the flat. What he really should be doing is just bumping this guy out on the edge just for a second. And as we watch the clip, we'll see that he does not do that. All right, he kind of leaves it. The nice thing is the down block from the offensive line, as well as the play fake in the backfield, influences this guy enough for our guard to get in position. So as the guard comes out there, he's allowed the quarterback a little bit of space to get into. Okay. Number 3 receiver over here, number 7 down here. He's got the shadow, and again, you can see in this clip that he pushes vertical, and then gets across the field. Really, what he needs to do is get on a line right now and get to 10, 12 yards, so that by the time the quarterback's ready to throw him the ball, he's ready. And then the climb is the last route in this one. Again, we're not looking at that one unless we tag it. Okay. So as the play develops, we can look out at that guy. The number 1 receiver got jammed off the line of scrimmage. He's out. He's out right now. We might keep eyes on him just to influence a defensive back, but he's out. He's not getting the football. Okay? Then we're headed down to the flat. The flat kind of got tangled up a little bit in the line, so he's covered. All right? So he's going to go stretch, not open, flat, number 2. Number 3 right here is my safety blanket. We put this guy in conflict because of the route. He jumped on the flat route, and we got the shadow creeping up right behind him. So that's what the quarterback does. He takes the shadow, a decent play. We'll just watch a couple of these from the end zone just so you can see the protection. But again, you can see that our right tackle has leverage on this kid, so we know that he's going to block down on this one. We're going to block down here. We're going to, it's slide protection essentially. The big guy here is just going to step inside and cover this space. What 24 really needs to do is just occupy this edge, not let this guy penetrate too much off the edge, and allow the guard to come through and pick him out. Okay? So again, the nature of the play influences defensive end enough where the guard can get into position. And there's a shadow opening up behind. Again, it's first game of the season, not pretty. Here's the same game later in the game. Again, so a lot of the issues still exist. The reason this one's in here is we can see a different hip angle. So we can see a man hip angle. We can still see the same type of pressure off the edge, or in the perimeter, excuse me. We can still see that this guy's below 7 yards. He's still taking away that bubble of space below the hard deck, and we can see the bubble of space above is open. All right. So again, in my head, if I've schemed this, if I say, hey, our guy's not very good and this kid's a stud, we're not going to throw it. If it's flipped or it's even, we might give him a look. Okay. In this particular formation, we've got an attached tight end. So the attached tight end should again pick up the space off the edge after the down block goes, and then he should count 1,000, 2,000, and release into the flat. Shadow on the backside, climb as their number 4 receiver. So again, if I look at my outside guy, I'm sneaking a peek at him right now. He's even with him. So based on my scheme, if I think he's got him beat, I might take a peek at it, but all I'm doing is sneaking a peek. It's not a very high percentage throw, so I'm coming down after that. Taking a look at my tight end. He drifts a little bit. You know, his goal is 3 yards, so he started to drift, which is obviously not acceptable because he's going to run into the guy behind him and take his space away. So he needs to come down and get flat. He does an okay job leveling off, but again, the shadow opens up behind based on the conflict to put the defender in, and it's a big 3rd down play. Here's a good example of a role player. This little tight back here has no business playing high school football. All right? He's like 5'6", 108 pounds. All right? But he gets open in space. We throw him the ball. All he has to do is hold on at this point. He does a nice job. Big 3rd down play. Here's another one, boot. So now we've got Robbie. So this is a 3-by-1 formation. We've got a split end out here. We've got our slot receiver, our tight end, split out in this space, and then we've got a running back over here. So we're going to motion into this one and get it back into a 2-by-2 look, and then everything else stays the same. The play's headed to the left, so in this case, the stretch would originate over here, stretch. Our number 2 receiver would run the flat into this space, shadow behind him, and then climb into the end zone. So here's a good example of our guard not being able to get into position. Again, another kid that really is significantly outsized in football, but does a nice job just because of the way he plays the game, his leverage and things like that. So he misses this guy. Now the quarterback doesn't have the option to continue to roll out into this space, so he's got to set up and make a decision right now. He's looking out in this space. He's got, based on this guy's hip angle, he's not going to be able to get any route behind him, so he's going to throw the ball over the top of him into the shadow route. No motion in this one. Headed to the right, 203, so we've got stretch out here, flat, shadow, climb. An attached tight end, really as a fullback. Now this is a playoff game from 2 years ago, so we do a much better job with our protection. Also got a kid who's been around for a while in that role in this game. So what he does is this guy comes off the edge. We've still got the down block from the right tackle influencing that kid, but we've got him all he has to do is just kind of get in his way. It should be maybe a little bit longer, 1,000, 2,000, and then release. Again, sneak a peek. Is this a good coverage, or is this a good space to throw the ball into? Absolutely not. There's a significant cushion on top of this guy. So he will come off that route right away. He's looking into the flat. Never turn down a profit. All right. Dump it off to the fullback. Fullback catches it, and he can get up the field. That's a very nice play there for a 3-yard pass. Could he come off and thrown it to the shadow? Maybe. Maybe not. Either way, never turn down a profit and get out to the next guy. Play to the left, this is 102, so again, stretch on the bottom of your screen, flat, shadow, climb. Start getting into tags in just a moment here. On this one, when we talk about the shadow route, or excuse me, the flat route, he does a nice job of getting lost in there, but again, you can see that he really drifts. He probably catches the ball at about 5 yards. If he delayed it a little more, and these guys are in better proximity to one another, the route would bump into the shadow route, which is, it's not complicated, it needs spacing out there for that route to go the way it's supposed to go. But again, dump it off to the flat, never turn on the prop, and get it up to the next guy. Alright, so we're in this particular formation, we're in a 3x1 bunch formation off to the right, and we're running the play to the left. Okay, so the rules will not change. There's still 4 guys up there, so if he's a little freshman out there and we're in a 3x1 formation like this one, we know that the stretch is going to come from the guy on the left. He's the number 1 receiver. The number 2 receiver is that slot guy on the right side of the screen, right off the right tackle's butt. He's the number 2 guy. So if number 1 over here is running the stretch, he's got the flat. So he's got to, right on the heels of the defensive lineman, get to 3 yards and run his route across the field. Number 3 is the guy that is he's on the line of scrimmage over there on the other side. He's got the shadow, and then the other kid's got the climb on the back side. So a different formation, it's the same exact play. There's the flat that pops open. And it's a team that's playing man coverage against us, so the stretch really does a nice job of vacating the space over here. And then we put these guys in conflict, even though it is man coverage, obviously. The speed at which this guy comes off the ball, he's able to beat his man. Again, there's that little kid that is a role player, catches the ball in space and gets up the field.